And the flag's right over there, so. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, it's a roll call, but the record reflects that Maria was not able to make it tonight. And then board chair comments, so 4 comments tonight. Looking through our financials, one of the coolest things I saw was 9 scholarships paid out from last semester for all the seniors from last year coming back to do that, so that's awesome. Like $7,000 some dollars with that, so that's great. And then the course book that we're going to look at later, Roseland has 156 courses that we offer. That's a whole lot. I think we do a very good job with that. And we had some that were recognized just this week too in the ag department. For the board, look for an email from me later this week. So in March, we're going to do the superintendent evaluation. So I'll send you the evaluation form and that stuff to fill out in between now and then and bring it for a closed session in March for that piece. And lastly, I know it's later on the agenda, but policy 210. So everybody knows what we came up with from the policy committee side is that we're going to leave it at 0, but we're adding in Schedule B of the teacher's contract, which is stipend work. So if you do the clock for this or different things like that, that's the only thing that the board member will be able to do and get paid for to do that. So we figured that was fair and wouldn't have really any conflict with any of that. So, and that's going into the second reading, so that's not up for approval yet. But those are my comments for tonight. So I will take a motion to approve the agenda. I'll second it, Director Bowman. Second by Director Hackett. All right, any discussion on the agenda? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. All right, appreciation, recognition, and presentations.
My little cheat sheet. Good evening, Director Hackett, Hofstad, Superintendent Christine here, Dr. Werkamp Herman, school board members. Tonight I would like to recognize Eli Pasek and Claire Prokop. They were our AAA nominations onto the regionals. For those that don't know, AAA looks at students that achieve in academics, arts, and athletics. So they have to have so much in a GPA. You need to be doing either band, choir, speech, plays, and then also excelling on the court or on the field. So Eli and Claire were both nominated. They got to attend a banquet, which Dr. Christine Werkamp also attended. And I thought they were really good nominations from high school, so great one. Go back a look.
Oh, thank you.
You don't have to have a picture on.
Go on, that's right.
No.
Oh, okay.
Congratulations. You guys did a really good job.
All right. So recognition of citizens for input purposes. I have 2 things. So Ms. Ladder. Talking about the working center.
Yeah. So there's been many rumors going around on why we can't use the radio in there, and I just want to know from you guys why.
In where?
in the workout center.
Oh, okay, I didn't hear you.
We've had it all the years I've been coming there at 6 AM since Nick's been in 6th grade, so probably 7 years now or more. We've always used it, and now it got taken away about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, I don't even know. And many rumors, but I thought I'd come to you guys and find out the reason.
But
I mean, we spend tens of thousands of taxpayers' dollars on putting this in, and we can't use it no more because, like I said, there's rumors, but I don't wanna obviously say what it is, what I've heard when I can hear it from you guys, so.
actually, I haven't heard that at all, or anything about that.
So there's no music allowed at all?
No,
They
No.
allow headphones.
they have to use headphones, and which, like I said, I'm there every morning with Gary's group. And it's awful, because the kids, they don't interact, because they got their headphones on, they don't talk anymore, they don't communicate, they don't work out together anymore, because if I wanna talk to Johnny, I gotta go up to him and say, hey, did you hear me? No, I didn't, sorry, take your earbud out, talk to you, walk away. And now they still don't talk to each other, and rumor had it, somebody was playing bad music. My thought was, if Nick does something wrong at home, do I discipline Nick? Or do I discipline all 3 of my kids? I don't do that, I discipline Nick. So I mean, if you got cameras in here watching every move we make. I'm assuming there's cameras throughout the gym, throughout the school. I'm assuming somebody knows who was playing the bad music, or what? Why don't we discipline and make them be responsible for their actions and not discipline everybody that uses it? And now I'm seeing written on handwritten notes, gym closes at 11, so obviously someone's staying past 11. And I don't wanna get it to the point where now we don't get to use the gym anymore. I mean, because to me, that just don't make sense to, discipline us if, one person is coming in at 5 to 11 and they're supposed to be out. I mean, obviously somebody knows somebody's in there after 11, otherwise there wouldn't be notes, hey, handwritten now on all the signs that says, please be aware, gym closes at 11. So somebody knows something. So I'm just trying to get answers and wonder what we need to do to try and get the radio back up and running. It just seems foolish not to allow us to use it.
Well, we'll take a look at what the policy says or what it doesn't say or whatever, because I have no idea why that happened, but we'll
Okay.
definitely look into that. And somebody here will get back to you on that.
Sounds good.
All right, and then on policy 210.
Good evening. When I read through the policy on the agenda, was anything touched on the employee or the board members being spouses of employees, or did we just, or past that? Are we going to touch on that at all? No. Okay. Interesting.
And I'll tell you, what, the voters get to choose that, whether they vote for somebody that has a spouse on there or not.
Correct. I understand that, but as a voter, when I don't have 6 votes, that's not fair either. We vote people in to have 6 votes on a board, and now we're down to 3 at some points. That's a conflict of interest. You are not truly doing what's best for the community when half of the people are backing out of a vote. That it just isn't right. And I would say the majority of people I talk to, which I talk to a lot of people in a day, would feel the same way now that they understand what's happening. So I just think it's unfair that that wasn't even looked at or taken into
We talked,
consideration. But again, but again,
the conversation, you wanna know what the conversation was, so. I've been on the board the longest and I have a really good memory. And actually, when I first got on the board, I was out at a local establishment and I had two former teachers grab me and they were both on the school board when I was in school and teachers at the same time. So that is my experience is that, you know, this school district's had teachers and I mean, now we don't do that, and now spouses of teachers, I mean. If you were in somebody's wedding, is that, I mean, I get,
No,
You know
absolutely,
what I-
not even
but-
close.
but you can't. I don't even know if you could regulate that. I don't even know if that would be constitutional to say, hey, you can't run for an elected office if your spouse works there.
If you can't put your vote in, though, how can that be right?
There's policy for it. There's policy for it, so, you know,
And as long as there's policy for it, even if it's not right, it's okay.
well, I don't know what's not right about it,
Okay.
so, I just. It's not that it's not that the policy committee just glanced over and we never talked about it, we did spend 5 to 10 minutes talking about it. And
Yeah, and I understand,
so, and
I
that's
mean-
what we came up with, so.
and that's fair, and this is my last, but when you're voting on it and 3 people aren't gonna say no, it's hard to come up with a majority. But, all right, well, thanks for touching base on it at least.
Can I ask a question? Is there seriously 3 of the board members where their spouses work for the school district? Is that correct? So I see where she's coming from, because if 3 of you have to abstain on votes, the voting public is voting 6 of you guys in. I was unaware of this, and I'm willing to bet up a lot more people know about that. That wouldn't be good. So,
So
you know, I didn't know that 3 of you have spouses
can
on
I
it.
clarify one thing?
Yeah,
So my wife works as a secretary.
yeah,
So the only thing I won't vote on is anything to do with the secretary. Everybody else votes on. So 3 of them won't ever, as far as I can tell, 3 of them would never all be out of the vote.
right. Yeah,
You're always gonna vote for what's best for the school versus for us. No,
Well,
because you know that.
so here's another part of what happened there. So I said, this is the first time since I've been on the board that every one of us has asked kids in the district. We used to have, I mean, it's been my experience that we've had an older person that doesn't have kids in the district. Now, we all have kids in the district, so are we, you know, we're gonna vote for stuff for the kids in the.
no,
district.
listen, I was just unaware.
So, you know, it's not that we just brushed this aside, we had a big conversation about this, so it's. Because, you know, without a person that doesn't have a kid in the district. You know, so somebody really watching from the property taxes point of view, you know, I don't know, I hope so, you know. And it's, everybody's got to vote their thing, and, you know, it's just like any board member comes on here, they have to decide whether they're gonna vote what their conscience is or what they think that the electorate is, and if you get elected again, I guess then people are happy with you, if you don't, you don't.
I
So,
just didn't realize 3 of the council members had spouses that worked here.
Right. Well, thank you for the input. Board committee report. So mid-state, we're not doing too much. Have, just like us, a whole bunch of policies that we just went through and redid, and, that was really it, other than the regular business. And then policy committee, we spent a good 2.5 hours there, over 11 policies, and we finally got some moving. We only have a couple to approve tonight. The rest of them we still have more work to do on, but that's really it for that. Was there anything from the finance committee?
Nothing that won't be reviewed
Okay,
tonight.
all right. Anybody else Committee reports? All right, let's see policy, what we're gonna be saying. Yep. So, I'll talk about those a little bit.
All right.
Perfect. Yep. All right, superintendent report.
So I want to recognize our parents and school counselors for all of the work that they do. It's been their month or week to be honored. And also it's School Board Member Appreciation Month, and so we have certificates for all of you to say thank you for your service. Appreciate the work that you do and the time you put in. And that's all I have for you.
Then I, the report.
Good evening, Chairman Hofstad, members of the board, Dr. Workamp, community. Heidi Hagan, business manager for the district. Tonight we'll review fiscal year 2024, and this is the February budget update. First, we look at enrollment. Enrollment is the main component of our funding and can certainly cause variance throughout the school year as enrollment goes up and or down. Originally, we adopted the budget at 935 adjusted daily members, students in our district, in our seats. As of January 2024, that we were at 920 students. We continue to monitor it, knowing that our student count is based on a weighted factor. Those in grades kindergarten through 6th receive a 1.0 factor, those in 7th through 12th, 1.20. And current 23-24 updated school ADM report is not yet available. MDE publishes that report late February, early March, with the actual recorded fall seat count for our MARS. We continue to track monthly. It does have enrollment does have a budget impact. I have updated our projections and estimates, knowing that we budgeted 935, currently at 920. We want to ensure that our funding isn't being funded too much or too little as far as our enrollment goes. And so I updated our enrollment to be around 922. General fund revenues on track with current year budget at 42%. We are considering FY24 budget revision to bring to the board and the finance committee within the next month. General fund expense, again, on track with current year budget at 44%. Again, budget revision consideration as well. I did bring to the finance committee how I go about projecting enrollment and what that process looks like, considering we are coming up on a new fiscal year and the planning for that has already started. Enrollment is always tricky depending on the communities that we serve and support and other trends within our communities as well. We look at historical trends, trying to determine what that data shows us. We look at current enrollment trends, conversations with those that are in the classrooms and are overseeing the staff that support the classrooms, community members, board members that have insight into what our community is seeing. With that information, I update MDE with a projection. December is a time period that I update based on fall seat count, and then finalizing that in February when the state comes out with their budget forecast. I review financial worksheets and data analytics that MDE provides. That's called a what if model. I update enrollment numbers. I analyze what those enrollment numbers, how they impact
both revenue and expense, and then based on that, determine next steps for budget planning, whether that's a revision consideration or planning for next fiscal year. This is a graphical representation of enrollment. Black line is FY '24, so our current enrollment line graph. The red is FY '23 and the yellow is FY '22. This information is based on the data that I had available to me at the time. You can see currently our enrollment trends are down, although staying relatively flat. We continue to monitor that going forward. Thank you. Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Sure.
So it says the adopted budget was for 935 ADM, and now we're gonna adjust it to 920 or 922. So what kind of adjustments do we make? So, okay, we're gonna adjust that number, and then are we going to? What do we change in the budget? I understand that obviously there's an adjustment in that number, but then what do we change? Like, we're obviously not laying off teachers, we're not selling stuff to make up that extra money. Where does that money come from? Or do we have that much of a slush fund in there where we can kind of handle 15 students per year?
So all very good questions. With the update to enrollment numbers, whether up or down, that what if model is the actual data analytic report that is produced, published by MDE. I put in those projected numbers, and there's all sorts of formulas and algorithms that take into account the change in those student numbers. And then the information produces change in our revenue streams, whether that's state aid, whether that's general fund aid, categorical aid, special education, restricted fund aid. All of the different components of our revenue are impacted by the changes in our
It's
enrollment.
almost like monthly, like fluid, it's fluid changing every month.
Yeah, and the purpose of working to build an enrollment budget that is going to be within reason is important, so that we're not either being funded too much, because that's how the state pays us. They pay us and meter our funding based on our enrollment projections, because we don't know what the year-end number results are gonna be. So if we budgeted 935 and they're paying us based on 935, but we end at 920, in essence, the state has paid us more than what we would have received otherwise, so then we would pay that back, or they would adjust future funding for that. So it's important that we maintain our enrollment projections and making sure that the state is updated specifically in December and February. So when those February forecasts come out, they readjust our enrollment. So if we had high variances in enrollment, the worst case scenario being a decrease, substantial decrease, it certainly would and could impact our budget to the extent of needing to have conversations around what opportunities do we have to cut expense or increase revenue in order to continue through the fiscal year without any necessary impacts to this. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, so then we always talk ADMs, and so we're down 15 approximately. What is one ADM worth? Like the public, everybody wants to know, how much does the school get for my kid from the school?
Yeah.
And what is an ADM worth? Like, do we have a
So that is
close number?
a question that I can answer, but it brings up more questions. So it depends on the district and the communities that you live in. Traditionally, a per pupil funding based on the information that I've used to be conservative would be about $10,000 per pupil
Per year.
funding per year.
And we just got the MREA data sheet. If you go on, we'll send you emails, so I won't double check through your emails. MREA has a whole list of all the districts and what they receive. We're in the bottom 10 out of 300 some districts. So for example, St. Paul Public Schools, Minneapolis Public Schools, they're reaching close to $20,000 a student. We're getting about $10,100 and some dollars in royalty.
And all that is
And there's
based
different
upon,
number in between, so
different
Upsall's more than
levies.
us, Swanville gets more than us, Petersville's more than us.
Right, I was just wondering, because people always ask, what's ADM, what's that mean, how much does it work, why are we always talking about that? And so it's 10,000 per ADM, so.
It's actually 8,670 or whatever is the main number that every single district gets. And then there's all of these other funding streams that link to it that increase it. So you might have operating revenue that increase, you might have more compensatory dollars, you might have ELP, you might have, there's lots of other funding streams that go and attach to that, that bring that 8,600 number up to 10,000, 15,000, 20,000.
Right. When we're looking at a lot of big numbers, and if we're talking 10,000 per kid, with 15 kids down, $150,000, right? So that, we take a big hit on that, I mean, that's a pretty big number, isn't it, 150,000? Well, it's only 15 ADMs, well, if it's 10,000 out of ADM, that's, easy math, $150,000.
Yeah, and that's where we need to be mindful of creating and building an original budget with that in mind, making sure that we're conservative, that we're maintaining our fund balance and following policy, which would help mitigate times where enrollment would decrease. That unassigned fund balance is important to maintain for that, one of those reasons, but also to know that budget revisions are just as important by tracking enrollment.
If we look back over 960 students, and now we're down to 920, that's a big number. That's a huge number, you know, I mean, we need to start figuring out what it's gonna take to get it on the uprise, not even the flat line, because that flat line right now is way lower than, what year did you say that red numbers from?
22.
22, that's what, 2 years and we're down. A lot of schools.
And I will have additional information once we dive deeper into the FY 25 preliminary planning. And information I share with committee and also to the board as to what historical trend data looks like for enrollment. I'll bring information to share in addition to how COVID really skews looking back previous to COVID and then looking post-COVID.
We're looking at 22, that's post-COVID, right, or right after COVID. I think we need to stop using that as an excuse, and go, hey, what's going on here? It's, at some
And
point.
I'm
we have
not
to
using
stop.
it as an excuse,
Right,
I'm
I'm
just
saying
trying
at some
to
point.
take out anomalies where COVID could have been an anomaly.
But when we're talking 22 to now, 40 students, that's a lot of ADMs. And we need to figure out what the root cause of that is. We'll take care of it, as a board, that's what we're here to do. So.
And I welcome that feedback and that information that helps build a better budget.
I mean, do we have the same amount of teachers we have now that we did in 22? Or do we add teachers? When we're talking $400,000 budget, we have a $400,000 hit on your budget. Where's that money going? That's my question. We're talking about these guys' money here, that's what it is. $400,000 of your money in the last 2 years. You're out the window.
And it could potentially be, or large high school classes graduating, smaller kindergarten classes coming in.
Yeah, it's enrollment, obviously. Smaller classes, we have larger classes. How do we get back to those larger classes?
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Chairman Hofstad, members of the board, full-time working. Three short things. For principal comments tonight, we have student-led conferences coming up at the end of February. Encouraging parents to sign up with their students Royal Hour advisor. In grades 6 through 11, seniors will be doing a capstone portfolio presentation in early May. They will not take part in student-led conferences. But they are coming up, Thursday, the 23rd and Monday, the 26th. For that, attached to those nights are pre-registration nights, grades 8 through 11. We'll have some pre-registration sessions from 5 to 8 PM in the cafetorium, going over the course registration book, PSDO, and all of those things that go into the master schedule and getting students registered for the 24-25 school year. So those conferences will be coming up here at the end of February. Honors breakfast. Honors breakfast is, both of them are the week of that last week of February. Both 8:30 at the Legion, Tuesday, the 27th, 26th, 27th, and Thursday, the 29th. The middle school honors breakfast is on Tuesday, the 27th, and the high school honors breakfast is on Thursday, February 29th, 8:30 AM at the Royalton American Legion. The ticket window is gone and come and gone already. We've submitted our numbers to the Legion. The people are welcome to attend the breakfast that morning. Just without the ticket, they just don't have the breakfast, but they can attend the honor roll ceremony in the Minnesota Honor Society induction. So 27th and 29th, and then we have another PBIS video for you this evening. This is from the PBIS committee, 3 minutes and 21 seconds, and this was student behavior on the bus.
Hustle up, let's go, we're running late. Let's go, Vincent, can you go up and hands to yourself, let's go. Hey, hands to yourself, you can make yourself kick out the bus. Good morning, how are you today? How are you in the book? Good morning, are you ready for your biochem test?
I'm so excited to test.
Hey, you two, stay inside the window. I will be kicking you off the bus. Thank you for those that are keeping all hands and feet inside of the bus at all times. Sit down, inside your chairs, do not be moving while the bus is moving, sit down. Everybody needs to be clear the aisle.
Thank you. I hope you have a great day.
Thank you for those that are doing what is needed. Sit in your seat. I will stop this bus and if you walk the rest of the way. Stop recording other people. You do not have their permission. All right, that is it. We're here. Get out. Grab all of your stuff. I'll be maybe having a meeting with you guys in Mr. Swenson's office.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. Good luck. Have a good day. You too.
So part of the PBIS goal and video is to just have a little bit of fun. I mean, I think the teachers had 30 minutes from being assigned to having this thing videoed and scripted and everything that they were gonna do with it. They knew it was coming, so some of them had planned ahead. And then had different groups, like you've seen throughout the year, some different groups that did these different areas. A fun way to nudge some behavior, reminders of some behavior on the bus that's not appropriate. Obviously, juniors and seniors, you don't necessarily always have to talk to them about bus behavior, but sometimes in the middle school, they need a little help and a little guidance in terms of what is expected in those areas. So we have a few more that we're still working on. And we'll hope to be able to present those to you later on this year.
The student council. Student council.
Yeah, are we doing that right now?
No.
Oh. Student council. They're gonna present to you what's happening at the high school this year with student council and activities that they've taken part
Board members, I don't remember how to say it, so that's what we get. Michelle, if you would go back to the first slide for us. Sorry. We are the Royalton High Council, so we are the top people of the student council. I am this year's president. I'm vice president. I'm the secretary.
I'm treasurer. I'm the reporter. So I know who you are, but maybe everybody in the room
Oh,
wants
yes.
something to have your names.
I'm Maimuna Toure. I'm Ella Zimni. I'm Brooke Warner.
I'm Nick Block. Nicholas Weigel.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you for having us. We decided we would like to present on our school's happening and everything else. So using the core values of Royalton and the new core values of Royalton, we went through and decided what each activity the school does pertains to. So our first one is respect. As respect being a core value, we make sure to honor our schools and make sure everybody's working together cohesively and interacting politely with gentleness and with everybody else. So this includes hallway and classroom language, with an N, not language, not the point. Anyway, we are the seniors in the school, so we have a better opportunity to be with the students and understand what they are saying within the hallways. We ourselves are always on the lookout just to be kind of those people, hey, no running, no destroying our stuff, don't litter, all of that stuff, and make sure to watch what we say in the hallways, especially since we are an integrated school with the middle school. So it's very important that we are respectful and cohesive with everybody else. Along with respect, the Yes Club, who is
Just recently joined.
yes, we have some Yes Club members here who they don't run the meetings, but they run along with the meetings and they go to all the events they do and all the stuff they do for our school. So that includes seed bombs, which they went to the ECC in the New Prairie out right there, actually, and just planting stuff that we can use in future years. So flowers, food, all sorts of stuff, kind of like a mini garden. This year they did seed bombs. I don't know if there's any specifics on those seed bombs, but they are just kind of clay capsules.
Well, I wasn't there, but I believe the next meeting we're gonna make more, it's just clay like wrapped in seed, and then we're gonna go up to the prairie up there and just like throw them up there so we can get some more plants going.
Along with the Yes Club, there's also FFA, who is very active in respecting our community and doing everything we can to make this school a part of our community instead of two separate entities. So that includes their greenhouse class, which is run by the ag director, one of the ag directors, Mr. Goldaddy. So they always do a yearly plant sale, which brings in money for the FFA and all that stuff. It also helps the community and respect our grounds and lets us grow in nature and friendship, really. And we have our honesty, being transparent and
everything like that is completely quintessential to everything we stand for as Royalton Student Council. We want to make sure the school is very up to date with what we do and how we do it. So we were thinking that we could do a student council Q&A night, just a night or even part of the day to get together, kind of record some of the questions that the students or faculty or anybody in the community has that we can go and answer and kind of just put out there why we do these things and when we will do them. We also have integrity. I am a part of Royals TV, so I multitask within Student Council and Royals TV, and we make sure to report honest and accurate school updates throughout the year, and our first broadcast goes out this week. And with integrity, it's pretty much the same as honesty, very much a synonym, but we are doing a segment on I Love to Read Month, which goes and follows the ECC kids and the sixth graders as they do reading buddies, and also with just general school happenings, and there's lots of fun clips in there, kind of like the video that was just shown for PBIS. Then we have leadership. Within this leadership, we have obviously us as the High Council. We do a lot around our school, making sure everybody can have a say and kind of compromise to the point where we all get what we want, but we also do stuff that's going to benefit us. Along with that, we have the Royal Ambassador Program, which was started by PBS. And I think all of us here are Royal Ambassadors. If anybody wants to comment on their rap buddy.
I will. So last year I had this buddy and I really like enjoyed my time with her. Like I would like look forward to my meetings with her. And I was actually like, she went to the school in Little Falls, I think it was CEC. And I was actually really sad when she left because like I like cried at that time and like I formed this bond with a girl who I didn't even really like knew was a part of our school before that. So it's just really good. And then this year I had the opportunity to make a new buddy and I have the same bond with her now. And I actually like will miss her when I graduate. So it's like a really cool thing to just have someone that you can like help get towards the graduation. I also had a male in the senior class, like in my class, and working on like assignments was really fun. I got to, hang out with him more and know a little bit more about him. And I don't know if I ever would have gotten that chance if I didn't have the Royal Ambassador Program. So that was really nice.
Yeah, this doesn't directly relate to my experience, but everybody that I've seen in their Royal Ambassador Program, it's kind of like, it's bridged a lot of gaps between grades and like really brought together a lot of different people in the school that I don't think would have been friends before. And it's nice to see that.
Then we have accountability, which goes hand in hand in the Royal Ambassador Program, where we get all their missing assignments and we work with our buddies and make sure they are on track for if they are seniors, graduation, and if not, just in their classes so they don't have to make up those credit recoveries. Also with accountability, we have PBIS, and there's always a Friday PBIS winner with Mrs. Schreckles always announces that, and they get to play Plinko for a prize. And it's super fun. I know I've done that before. I'm sure everybody else here has also had that opportunity to do so. And it's just making sure that our students do the best they can and then are held accountable for that by more so positive reward and doing well in school. We also have citywide cleanup, which is making sure our entire community is accountable for their garbage and their leaves and everything they have within their homes that may be distressing to neighbors or people on the highway or just anything like that. And that is with the Minnesota Honor Society. So I think all of us are a part of Minnesota Honor Society as well. So we go out and we spend one day a year cleaning up people's yards and the Memorial Park out over there, and we just make sure everything's nice and pretty for everything. And it's fun. Yes, very. Then we have service. Service to student council is one of the biggest things we do, especially this year. We started the color run, and it's color run into homecoming. And we decided that we would like to make this an opportunity to benefit everybody, regardless if they are in this community or not. So we picked Anna Maurice in St. Cloud, a domestic women's and children's shelter that I know my family works with very closely. We've always worked with them, and it's just been a privilege to go out and continue to support this shelter and everything that they do. So we raised money by getting sponsors for the back of the t-shirts seen in this picture. And they were on all of our advertising, so businesses had a fair share on their end as well as us, so we can get all of that money to families in need. So we did Anna Marie's, we did 2 local families as well, and they got all the proceeds for that. And then this year, new to us, we were doing survivor candidate fundraising. So each of the king and queen candidates that compete against each other through the week will pick a charity that they are fundraising for, and they will buy stickers or something of the sort. We're hoping for stickers if we can figure out how to make the credit work. And we're gonna sell those, and all of that money will go to the charity of that person's choosing. And then at the end, we haven't really ironed out the details if it would go to just one charity or all those charities based off of the sticker fundraising, all of that. We also had the Christmas blanket drive new this year, and that sponsored Royalton Middle School, High School families. And that was run through the care closet through our school with Miss Weir. Miss Blankets, but Miss Weir heads the committee for that. So we got together this Christmas and we reached out to the community asking for donations of blankets, blanket materials, stuff like that. And then we had during the Christmas activity day, a station where you could make those tie blankets, and they were given to those families. We still have a few more to do, but as of right now, it's not an urgent need for them, so we have not.
Can I also say something on this topic? So this is my first year on the council, and Moden just invited me over the summer. And I want to say that I felt more fulfilled in serving my school and doing stuff for other people that I didn't expect myself to do this. And it's nice to see that kids enjoy being in school and doing these things that we could encourage them to keep on their academic journey, and just seeing them grow through this stuff. It's great.
It makes school more fun, also because these are more fun, looking forward to, if there's a kid who's dreading school, they can look forward to about a week, I only have one more month, it's about a week, and it's fun and games, and then, oh, I only have 2 more weeks, so this next thing, so it's fun to have different things, every month to look forward to, also turkey bingo, and now we have a new middle school activity night that's coming up too, that'll be fun for them to look forward to.
There is one last slide, I believe. So this ultimately, as a student council, what we do is build student unity and togetherness. One way to start out the year, we did a senior sunrise. As you can see, that is all of us sitting there looking very happy at 5:30 in the morning. We got there, I don't know what time we got, very early. Yes, definitely can get there a little less early next time, but that's not us, so that's okay. So we got together the day before the first day of school as a senior class, and we got donuts, juice, and we sat and we talked, and the sprinklers came on. We got very wet, but our donuts did, and yes, all over the front of our cars. So minor. And then we're looking to do a senior sunset as well with that, so it'd be either the week before the last day of school or the day before the last day of school, and the senior trip. And we would do the same thing just at night. And then we are doing a drive-in. We got the approval for that. So there'd be a middle school movie that's more age appropriate for them, and then a high school movie that is more geared towards adults or seniors and higher things. It'd be no profanities or anything like that. There is a list of movies that can be sent out and chosen from, and we will send that out to the student body to see what they want. It would be just on the football hill out there, not on the field, as we'd like to keep it as pristine as possible, make sure nobody is messing with it. And then another way to build student unity is the student sections. When we have themes for student sections, we have found people go crazy, even for the basic ones like blackout. People love them. Especially if there's a prize, which does include king and queen of the fort. So the person showing the most spirit, cheering the loudest, is also dressed up, even if it's slightly dressed up. But if they are dressed up, they get, depending on when you win at major games, there's a little card and candy bar that says, fan of the game is what it is. And then we also have a fan of the season. So it was Aubrey Solers and Brendan Trisco last season for volleyball and football. They went to every game, every away game, every tournament. They were always there. They were always showing up, showing out. They had everything. So they had little discount cards to Pizza Ranch. So when you have a prize, you will statistically find there is more turnout and willingness to be a part of your community and school. Then we also have split the pot raffles, which goes hand in hand also with our color run, because we supported one of the families on this list here. The family split the pot raffles we've been doing for several years now. I know I headed the committee that did the Eisner Strong split the pot raffles when Jerry Eisner was in hospital. And then unfortunately, after he passed away, we made sure his family got all the money for that. And then we are also doing our Gwenny Strong split the pot raffles this year during volleyball. I'm sure we will have plenty more for different families and for Gwenny's family as well. Then we have just one final way to build everything. I know these two ladies talked about having our Valentine's Crushing It activity night, which is full of music, dancing, games in the gym, games in the cafeteria. There's all sorts of concessions and just a way to bring all of the middle school students together and have fun. Along with Valentine's Day, we have crush cans, which we sell every year. We originally started selling a can, and then you get a little note attached to it, and it's like, here's a pop from your crush, but it didn't have to be from your crush, just from somebody you knew, from your friends, for just a way to spread positivity and have fun. And then, not related to Valentine's Day, but also a holiday, we do turkey bingo. We used to do cans, like a food drive with cans and stuff, and that would be given to the care closet or Ruby's Pantry in Little Falls. But it's very difficult to find food that's not expired within that. Most of the time when we brought cans, half of it was expired, so it really was just a waste. So instead, we brought in money. You can play around a bingo for $1, and it would just escalate from there. Christmas is arguably one of the biggest events, other than homecoming and Survivor Week, that we do here. We have one day where we all get to get out, see a talent show, eat some cookies, go around, kind of just having fun. There's a mix of athletics and creative arts that they can do, which is when we did the bingo. That's all we have. That is the senior class, and on behalf of everybody here, and I think just, the student council, thank you for having us and letting us share.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks.
Chair Hobson, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Werkamp, elementary update here from the last month. We have entered quarter 3 with our bell ringing and some school-wide celebration, and that was on Monday, January 22nd. We started the day in the gym with the welcome welcome, gave away our applause awards, and then we played school-wide bingo. The kids had a ball with that. Just last Monday, we had kindergarten information and registration night in the cafeteria. Well attended. We had some nervous families, first-time families, and they were able to ask questions and kind of get comfortable with what we do here, providing our kindergarten information for them. We have conferences tonight and tomorrow night, 4:30 to 8 o'clock, both nights, scheduled 15-minute conferences, and so those are going well attended. It is I Love to Read Month here in February, so there are different things going on throughout the month. From researching to picking a book that they love, to create a bookmark, everything is surrounded by reading. And so that was put on and put out, and classrooms are doing those things. We've got our Reading is Foundational day on Thursday, February 22nd. Kids will get to come to the library and choose 2 books to take home, which is part of the program for getting those books as far as ownership, getting something that they want to read and to get ready to take it home. It's also included in our ECC with our pre-K and kinders. We are in the midst of our Kids Heart Challenge, which is with the American Heart Association. Mr. Myers putting that on. And then so we're getting donations, and then Friday, March 1st, there's a celebration. So we'll see if they hit their target goal there. Last thing I have is we hit our 100th day of school today. And lots of kids dressing like they're 100. So it's pretty fun to see. So, yep. All right, ladies, come on up. Ms. Toma needed to get back for conferences, but we have 2 representatives here from our elementary student council. So go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Hello, I am Stella Lockhart, and I am in 5th grade and Miss Hannah is my teacher. I'm Eliana Crowder. I'm in 4th grade and Miss Toma is my teacher. My favorite subject in school is math because I'm better at math than most other subjects. Math is also my favorite subject because it is very interesting. And things that we have learned this year, some things that I've learned this year are area perimeter and then punctuation or grammar. And then in like December, we had the science days and we got to do a bunch of science experiments. I learned a lot of stuff with fractions. In Spanish, I learned numbers up to 100, and I also learned area of perimeter. Some of my exciting opportunities is making it into Math Masters in the spelling bee from Miss Bishop's, and then going to D4H. Some of my exciting opportunities are going to Itasca State Park and doing Math Masters. And in the spring, also exciting projects for Shooting Muscle this spring, we are putting on a food drive for our school. And we had student council help wrap gifts for the giving tree, and we had families that we gave gifts in. Activities that we do in student council that we help with is we're doing read alouds for the Dr. Seuss week, and we read books and we take videos. And we do dress up days that match with that book. In November, we did a gratitude jar, which you put things that you were grateful for. And we also help with the dress up days for our school.
Thank you for presenting. That's awesome. So next is the consent agenda approval. So the board is consenting to approve items listed below as presented at one time. At any point, the director can pull an item off the consent agenda list for further discussion. So on the agenda, we have approval of the regular board meeting minutes from January 8th. Organizational board meeting minutes from January 8th, claims, accounts, and financials. Resignation and termination, approval of new hires, and that is it. Is there anything that anybody wants to pull off? All right, I will take a motion for.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move the consent agenda.
Right, Director Hackett. Second was. Director Rowan, thank you. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstaining? Motion carries. Going to number 10, so BPA request for nationals.
Director Hofstad, members of the board, Dr. Burkham. Herman, BPA is requesting to approve the travel to Chicago, Illinois for their BPA National Leadership Conference. So on this document has roughly what the cost will be. If you go to see a little bit down farther, there's an option for flying and driving. But it is, so flying, convenient, so then you don't have to sit and drive, but obviously cost wise, they'll be using a school van, so really just ends up being the parking that they would have to come out of their expense. Are there any questions?
They have fundraising opportunities.
Yes, the BPA advisor is here as well, so she may be able to answer.
They have fundraising that they can use to try to offset some of their costs.
Yeah, so they have some money in their student activity account. They run the school store every, Wednesday morning. Last year we went to Anaheim, we did seek a donation from the Lions Legion. We've been partnering with Habitat for Humanity and helping them in their fundraising efforts and doing community service in that way. And working concessions of the other money.
So are we looking to approve this one way or the other, or just approve it all?
Yeah, we need approval to travel out of state, and we need that before, our deadline to register will be before the next board meeting, so I don't know who qualifies at this point. I guess I was hearing the recommendation that we should drive. I'm okay with driving. I know, like, I'm okay with Indianapolis, which is a longer drive over to Chicago, so like to stay consistent, then we would drive.
So really, the district covers the registration and the hotel and the meals is what we covered in the previous year, and then however you get there is funded by however you get there and by the students and the families, correct? So that's really the motion is the request, I guess, is are we gonna cover the registration, the hotel and the meals, again? I know we've done that at least the last 2 years.
Why is it such a big discrepancy? It was $1,000 difference. From 690 to 600, or 690, 1640. We not have numbers from the.
For the whole body.
What's it?
Depends on which.
Just the total cost per student.
Yeah, the biggest discrepancies with the hotel room, because it depends on how many qualify and if I can find them roommates. Our state association in the past, our state director has helped facilitate roommates, and now she's not doing that, and so. It's up to me and the advisor connections that I made, through our region and state. Last year we had one girl qualified. And so I was able to room her with a gal from Annandale, because then it becomes, you have fourth and the share bed and they don't know each other versus like. When we had 3 boys go and they all room together and they know each other, so somebody shared a bed. When we go out to state, the 4 and they share beds with people they know.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so that's where the hotel room is the biggest. That's such a huge gap, whether I had 4 room or 1 room if we can kind of agree.
Okay.
Okay.
A second.
Any other discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Course handbook.
Chairman Hofstad, members of the board, Superintendent Sawyer Camp Airman. This is the approval for the course registration guide of 2024-25. It reflects news grad requirements required for students to graduate. No substantial changes in that. It does add some of the CNA opportunities for earning credit if they work in CNA or nursing or childcare. They can earn some of that credit is included in this. Each year, we start meeting with departments the first week of November to start the process for next school year already. And so start laying out recommendations for courses. Ryan said 156 courses. Those 156 courses don't get taught every year, but we work them, those departments, for instance, an ag department is going to work on almost like a 4-year plan of where they're going to kind of sort these courses in, where all of our students, as they go throughout high school, get a chance to get the courses that they want to get to. So they will plan out, for instance, if you have an accelerated metals class, the prerequisite for metals is welding 1. Well, you got to make sure that you create enough welding 1 opportunities. If you just run 1 welding 1 class and 1 accelerated metals class every year, you are totally dependent on the welding 1 kids going to accelerated metals. And so you want to make sure that you're kind of building up those intro pools of, you have a couple welding 1 classes, and then you have a couple, accelerated metals class, maybe year 2 and year 4. And you have a pool of kids that are looking to get into those courses. So it's really kind of the strategy behind it is offering the courses at the right time, in the right sequence, in the right places, in the right years, to make sure that students have access to all of those things that go into building that schedule. Has all the PSEO information, it has, the courses, how to earn, where to earn the credit, grad requirements for each grade level. Peer tutoring, staff aiding, you name it, the index there has all of the materials that students and families need. To make informed decisions about the coursework. We will go over this, it's available for students when they come to pre-registration, we'll go over what the grad requirements are and what they need to take care of, and then between myself and Ms. Flakes, we sit down with the families that night and work out their schedules and make sure that they have the things that they need, what they're thinking about, what things they, you know, if you're a junior going to a four-year college and you don't have, and you're gonna take the ACT and you're not taking chemistry, we might have a little conversation about that, you know? If you are thinking about going to a trade school or an apprenticeship and you wanna get into an electrical field and you have not taken a power or electronics class or electric, hey, you know, there's some opportunities there for you to get some experience before you go into that field. So we try to counsel the kids as best we can, regardless of the pathway that they're on. So, the course registration book is the ultimate resource guide for students registering for their courses for the next school year.
I read through most of it. It's a lot, but it's a lot of good stuff in there. You know, there's the guide on, they fill this in and you can start making your, that's helpful, but that's still overwhelming just to look at from my point of view, so for sure.
So we'd be looking for your approval tonight on the course registration.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move this for adoption.
Second.
Director Hackett. Second, Director Bowman. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Spring break survey results.
So, you want to go down to our lead session? So as you know, the board asked that we survey our community to find out their feedback on, spring break offerings, since our district hasn't done that in the past. So this is how that question started. We'll give some background, that the board has requested the survey to be sent to school committee to determine if they do or do not want a spring break built into future school calendars. The second part of that, question, keep going, so the next slide, was, below are examples of spring break impacts on the final student day and graduation, just because that's how it works. And so it was important to give them what it would look like for 24-25 school year and then 25-26 school year. It was an anonymous survey. We surveyed families, students, and staff. The question, would you be in favor of a week-long spring break in March if it meant the school year would continue into June with fewer 4-day weekends throughout the winter and spring? Well, that was a very clear way to ask the question. Some people might not realize a spring break is a full week. They might think it's just a 4 days. So this is why we clarified that. So these are the results we got. 436 students responded to the survey. 77.5% or 338 students are not in favor of a spring break, while 22.5% or 98 students are. 349 parents responded to the survey, with 84.2% or 294 parents not in favor of a spring break. 15.8% or 55 parents are in favor of a spring break. And then 101 staff responded to the survey, with 83.2% or 84 staff not in favor of a spring break, and 16.8% or 17 staff are in favor of a spring break. So those numbers are quite similar for all three groups. So what we did is we're bringing back this calendar for this month to talk about again to show you. We'll actually bring the calendar to the March meeting for final approval. And we're going to get back to the READ Act requirements with the letters training that we're required to get the science of teaching reading to our teachers. We've chosen the letters training. module, and bringing back these options. And this time we just brought 2 calendars back since the overwhelming response was to not have a spring break. We didn't bother to bring those back. So we have 2 options. The calendar that's been similar to the last several years would then require a stipend paid to teachers for the additional work that's going to be required for will be the K-12 teachers, special education teachers that are responsible for teaching reading. And then 12 board credits toward a lane change. Option 4 would not have the $20,000 stipend, but rather add in 8 early outs, October through May. So just 1 day a month. And allow for that time to be used for the teachers to do their letters training, along with all the PLCs that they participate in. All of that time would be towards the science of teaching reading, as would all 4 professional development days. So math would be available for pre-K through grade 5 students on those early out days. We are looking at maybe having a potential math-like program for middle school students. One thing to think about is we potentially could cancel junior high athletics. There would be 2 canceled practices per season. So you'd have November, December basketball, January, February basketball. Remember, this is junior high, so boys are 1. Boys would be November, December, girls, January, February. And then April and May, you'd have 2 days of canceled for junior high only. So just bring that back for discussion.
I have 2 questions. So as far as like the option 1 or the option 2, right? No early outs or early outs. Have we like surveyed anybody like in terms of like parents or staff?
No, the staff are very much wanting the early outs because they know the amount of work that's going to be involved. And this will allow them to work together during those early outs to handle that asynchronous work.
Are we checking with parents or what are we parent ones?
I have not.
Okay. Do we know what other school districts are, how they're handling?
It's dependent. Some districts are looking at doing early outs, other districts require. Some aren't doing letters. Some will do, there's a core and carry-all, so I don't know what their calendar will look like. We couldn't, I don't know how people are gonna make carry-all work. We couldn't because they were so strict on every 6 weeks and we just couldn't. We don't have PD days built in like that. So, and core just didn't fit for our community, so our school community. So letters we felt was the best way to go. And so it depends. Some districts have already done this work and their teachers are already trained. It just depends on where you are. So some districts have had other science of teaching reading training that they're trying to get approved through MBE so that it can count as it was one of the 3.
That's what I was just gonna say. It would really be a bad deal if we just got done with the program and it wasn't one of the 3 approved ones.
That has happened to one of the districts. So there's a lot in motion and there's a lot to be discussed at the legislature, mostly around the secondary requirement, because in current statute, it says that all secondary students, all students have to be reading at grade level at every single grade. And so then the science of teaching reading has to be given to all secondary teachers. Well, that's going to be a real challenge to have a math teacher. Right. So they know letters wouldn't fit because it's not designed for that. So I think that's, and that was put out till 2027 requirement. I think that's going to have some tweaks and changes this session based on the overwhelming feedback they're getting from districts. And Joel and Tony have both been at different principal conventions talking about the same thing and hearing similar information.
How do you say that? So if we had a teacher leave.
Okay, so these are the answers I don't have.
Oh, I was just saying.
What happens when a teacher goes on maternity leave? What happens if a teacher comes in year 2 and hasn't had any science of teaching reading? We're already halfway through. What if a teacher, I don't have any of those what ifs yet because they can't tell me from the legislature. Yeah. So we're all asking those same what if questions.
Do we have a calendar option instead of option 1, option 2?
Yeah, do you want to click on them? You can see them.
Oh, you click on it.
Yeah.
Oh,
So this is our typical, like we've shown, like we pretty much have with our normal October, we have MEA in there. You can see August, our back to school week. You can see December where there's winter break. You can see the different 4-day weekends conference, just, the teacher day where there's no school, those PD days, how we build those in. So that's pretty much been, I don't know, Joel, how long has that kind of been a standard calendar? Several years. That's option 1. And then if you look at option 4, which remember, because we had other ones before.
So just one question with option 1. When would the teachers then do that training, like after school?
They'd have to find time on their own for the asynchronous.
Okay.
Right, so it would be after school weekends, that kind of thing. And then here, this, if you see that turquoise color, those would be the Wednesdays where they would be a 2-hour early release so that teachers could get through this work.
In the letters program, how important is it that they are doing some of this stuff together compared to doing it by themselves?
Well, I think that collaborative nature of learning helps a great deal. That's why we put kids in groups all the time. We pair them off, we put them in larger groups. We yes, have some individual work there, we have that too. I think teachers are gonna move along this continuum at different rates and how quickly or not quickly they pick certain things up. So to have each other there, I think will make a big difference, which is why every PLC time is devoted to this work too. So they will have each other then too. And then the synchronous days where there's live training, that will be on those 4 PD days that we have built in, we've had built into the calendars for years.
So the question I guess I have is, if we're using all of our PD days to do that, what would it be that we're missing? Like, if we weren't doing it on PD days and they were doing it on their own,
Well, they have to, this PD days are the 6 hours of live instruction.
Yep.
So I gotta have everybody there. Access.
no, my point is, if we weren't doing letter training during those PD days.
Then we do other, so we've been working on Benchmark, our new curriculum that we purchased a couple years ago, getting them up and ready there, proficiency scales, catalyst training, so lots of different PD.
Is there any worry about not doing any of that stuff and not progressing anything else, only progressing in?
Yeah. I'm not as worried about that because I know letters and it's gonna be effective for them. It's really gonna help improve instruction. And I really believe if we can do a really solid job around tier 1 instruction, and reading is at core, a lot of other things are gonna come along. I think once we get through this letters training, then we can start looking at, okay, how are we handling interventions when it's tier 2 and tier 3? What kind of push-in work do we have going? I just think the teachers are gonna be ready for more of that kind of training because they're gonna have this foundational training instead of having somebody else come in. I'm sorry, what did it 2-year program? It's a 2-year program, so we have to ask for an extension to the state because the state only allows for 1 year to get this done, even though they know that letters takes 2 years. So it will be granted. I heard the assistant commissioner Bobby Burnham state that very clearly that it will be approved, the extension for 2 years.
So in the early hours, does that affect the hours of the kids in school, right, obviously? So where are we, I guess I didn't comb through the calendar, are we?
Number of hours and days, yeah.
Hours,
We calculated that we should be okay with number of hours and days.
so did we add days on the one calendar or not?
No, Joel, how did we, I think we had a couple days after,
Yeah.
at the end of the month. So our last day would be that 30th of May, Friday. The elementary have a lot of hours built in, compared to what they're required to have. And so having these early outs for them isn't an issue. And secondary, we have enough hours built in that we have, we should be okay for the second, we are okay for the secondary, we've counted the hours.
And on those Wednesdays, you're not starting late, right?
No,
So
we're
like
not
that
starting late, correct. So
hour that-
it just flipped. So for
Yeah.
the high school and middle school, it flipped. It just added another 45 minutes. Is that right, Joel? So it's not an actual additional 2 hours at the secondary. It's only an additional 45 minutes.
We're on the CA Wednesday, we already had
Where you have.
Right.
On an early out day, when would the buses run?
Just at 1 o'clock or whatever time it is. All students get fed, and then the buses will take kids home.
I don't think we need to select an option, but
Next month, we'll bring them back for approval, which one we need to decide on, and we'll bring a recommendation.
I think it would be good, and I guess if you're looking into like a middle school map, like just for the families that maybe don't want the kids to come home at 1 and need them to be here till, I think that would be a good option if we can make something work.
My question is, do we really need the early hours? If they get all the PD days or whatever they are, they're like on it in school. And then, I guess if they have early hours, why do we have to pay them more if we're getting 12 more credits? I mean, 12 more. I mean, if they're not, so if they're not getting early hours, so if they're just doing it on their own time, they're getting 12 more credits, which in turn is a lot of money when you are making a lane change.
But they can get those board credits regardless, because all they have to do is pay the University of Utah or whatever,
Right.
show the transcript, so.
No, I understand that, but they're not doing that. They're getting the 12 board credits just going through this course. So then why do we have to pay them a stipend?
Because it's the amount of time that they'll be putting in outside of the workday.
Like some. So if the teachers came in early, it would be an extra hour they would get to do it in the morning. Right, because in their day, instead of starting,
Well, they have a contract
Right.
for the number of days they work.
right,
I can't.
are you saying it's like a teaching certificate is like kind of like your life of the job,
Right.
is that kind of where you're going?
right,
Like to work here, they have to do this, so it's their own education.
right,
Is that kind of the point you want to make?
right.
It's part of the new requirement, if they want to be a teacher.
But I don't know why we have to pay them, because anybody else who goes and gets credits, we don't pay them to do that, they just do it on their own. They do that for their lane change, so that they can make more money.
But they do that by choice,
I
and they
understand that.
pay for it. So they pay for their college, and then they get their living change, and they do it by choice, whereas we're now it's first.
Right,
Or
it's
not.
hard to be a teacher. It's like anything else, if you have a job and you have new requirements you have to have, then you have to get those requirements in order to keep with that position, just like being a superintendent, if they come out with new rules, you have to go get those. I mean, and it's gonna pay them more money if they decide, I mean, a lane change could be tens of thousands of dollars a year, really, depending on what they're doing, 5,000, 2,000, whatever it is, it could be a lot of money depending on what.
I think we have, I get what you're saying, of like continuing education. That's why I was curious what other districts were doing, because I don't want teachers leaving here, going somewhere else that they would get. It's gonna be a thing.
Let's say lane change is only about $100. They teach for 10 years, that's 10 grand, I mean, that's a lot of money that you're gonna get. That's what I'm saying, I mean, it's a lot of money, why are we paying them an additional?
Let me look at the two options, so you can see how much money they're. They'd be getting stipends of $500.
Right.
I'm afraid the morale would really think if we didn't, if we went with the no early outs and then didn't give them a stipend. I'm concerned about morale.
But he's on letters that has to be so much classroom time between modules, right?
Yeah, they have to go in and use what they're learning with the students and show data.
Nice, but we don't have the answer to what happens. If we choose option 1 and we get, I mean, 2 years from now in March and 25% of our teachers haven't presented like me, they procrastinate right to the end. I mean,
Well, this
do you
is
not
pretty,
hire them?
no, it's pretty structured though. I think they do it. I mean, so it'd be hard not to, because you gotta get to your next PD day where it's synchronous, you have the live training, you gotta be prepared. I think it'd be pretty.
The next hospitals that open up until you complete the live. You can't work ahead, but you have to stay on.
Well, that's not my problem.
And it comes down to, now that we have to fire them because they didn't do it, but yeah, they're.
And if you, yeah, can you find somebody to replace them and have it?
Those are all questions the legislature can't answer. And we're all
Fine,
asking,
yeah.
we're all asking those questions, so know that we're all asking that constantly. And they're not getting answers.
I don't know how that we can only pick one option though either, like if we're saying, okay, we'll do the early outs, because that's what the teacher favored. We came up with a half a dozen examples where those teachers maternity leave or they're out or they start late. What are we doing for them? Are they gonna then do a stipend and like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like we have to have. I don't know.
Like if they start like halfway through the year, they're gonna be halfway behind.
What are they
So how
gonna
do
do?
they-
Are you gonna make them catch up or they can't participate, so they have to do option one? Or you know what I mean? Like what? We gotta kind of have a backup plan because they're not all on the same track. In a perfect world, option 4 is great. But that won't work, like right the whole way through.
We don't know that won't work. We make an
You're gonna
assumption.
have 100%
Well, if
all the way through.
If we don't have anybody leave and they all stay,
And you don't hire anybody for 2 years, I mean, maybe it'll work. It just seems unlikely that you want 100% all the way through.
it might happen, and that's what every district's gonna.
Yeah, it could.
Because again, some have already completed it and they're done. Some are worried about this. Because they're done, completed. It's hard because we're being forced to do something without all of those questions you're asking being answered. I don't have any of those because the legislature can't.
Yeah.
Those late start days, aren't the teachers here early anyway? They're here at 8:05, right?
Yep. Oh, yeah, they work very fully.
Right.
But that's only at the high school, middle school, elementary.
And I don't know, do both schools have to be the same? Does elementary have to be, I mean, they go through the same
Well,
process?
the calendar will be the same, but they won't go through letters at the secondary, they're not, there's no,
Right.
none of that. Again, it's just like taking that Wednesday, flipping it on the end, adding a bit more time, because the buses need to still run, take all of it. Same. And you have middle school and high school students that sometimes, are watching the elementary kids at home until parents, even now.
So what do you really need to make a decision on?
Nothing tonight.
No, but for next month,
Oh,
really,
we have approved the calendar. So it's
really,
yeah.
that's really it.
Yeah.
We're gonna approve if we're doing early outs or not early outs.
Yeah.
The rest of the stuff we won't have to do at that same time.
Well, we may want to, it's up to you, but I don't know how the teachers will react to not having an answer.
How are we dealing with the parents that have to take it?
We are making changes with how we're handling title so that we're not putting pairs to it. And I think our change is gonna be good. I'm actually looking forward to Tony and Carrie Rowling and I'll sit down and talk through the new process, probably handle title, and I think it's gonna be good. Especially when they've had letters training, they understand how to really handle struggling leaders.
So it's just teachers that worry about.
Just teachers. And then at this point, it's just elementary teacher for the stipend and or board credits or any of that. It's just the elementary teachers and then special education teachers that teach reading or interventionists that teach reading or support reading instruction.
So what would you have the other teachers do during their adults? Just different PD?
Yep, so Joel, we're looking at bringing Catalyst in, like we have at the elementary, bringing that into our secondary and seeing some skills there with Catalyst. They still have their PLC time then, like they always have when they put it in the morning. So some different options there too.
And does it affect any of the hourly? But they all just work their normal hours?
They would only work as long as those students are. Now, some might work math, some. So it's a lot to think about. And the problem is they don't give us much time. And we really need to have a calendar approved next month, really. I mean, we could potentially wait till April, but that's just not something we generally do. We generally get that thing approved, so. It's up to you. If you wanna do option one and not pay them,
I'm not saying we don't pay them, I like to pay people for what they do, but I think the main change is there's money involved there.
Yep.
And I don't know if people understand that, but there is money involved, substantially. You know,
So without the board doing that, the teachers could still get the 12 board, or 12 credits for the loan change. It would just cost them money to do it.
No, I'm just saying if we weren't gonna give the board credits ourselves, they could then pay a fee to the university, get the transcripts, come back to me and show me, and then I gotta pay the board credits.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh,
So if they want to do that, they can.
Well, they're gonna keep teaching 3 years from now in Minnesota, they're gonna have to do something, right?
According to what's in statute today.
Yeah, I mean, that's all you can.
That's all I can say, yeah, and that's what's so challenging about this.
But they could change that in March.
Yeah, I don't know that that's what will change. I'm hoping they put more money to the react, because it's not funded well at all. There's hopes that, like, for example, our benchmark curriculum didn't pass to get reimbursed, like I was hoping it would. So I mean, there's other things out there that might change. I think they're gonna change requirements for secondary, because it just doesn't make sense in its current state of how it's written. But we don't know, because you know how legislators do. What we think they should do. Yeah, right.
So how many teachers need to take this on year one, like right away?
Tony, what do you have for numbers? 43 or 37? 38?
38.
One other thing to note is that the 12 board credits does not give them a lane change. It's not enough credits for a lane change.
Right. But it could be, I mean, if
It's
they're right on the.
for a lane change, but it doesn't mean that they get, they
Some might.
don't get a lane change.
Right.
Some might be close enough that it would be, but not all.
Right.
And some are already at the far right, so if we do give these board credits, they've been asking, well, what about us? We're already at the top. That's something I have to think about too. And I told them, they come back with an offer of what you think we should do. It's not my job to figure that out. I didn't think at this point, if they can figure something out, they should come with some proposals and that we can look at and determine if we want to approve something.
Contract wise, option 1 and option 4 are both within the contract.
Right, contractual, we will.
Okay.
Because their days, they still have to work 183 days.
How many teachers do we have total? 38 would have to go through it right away. How many teachers do we have? That the fact that they're not even taking it, like. it's
That's
really out.
secondary teachers. Joel, what do you have non-sped secondary?
30.
30.
Going on with early out, we have 30 teachers here that aren't taking it. That would be about, we'll find something else to do.
They'll be doing catalyst and
Right, they'll
PLC
be
work.
doing something.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
not with the students, which is what we want the teachers with. We want the teachers with the students as much as we can. You know, I think it's- I mean, to me, we're making a big change, or not a huge change, I get it going early out for once a month or whatever. For half the teachers, and the other half, a big change, it can be a big change for parents too, and all these kids are getting out early, on these Wednesdays, some of them would have to use their vacation days. Be home with those kids, they're expecting those kids to be in school. Again, we don't want to ask to keep the parents on everything we do, but it could affect them quite a bit.
Well, that's one of the things that we talked about right away, though, is there is the map option, so if they wouldn't have to. They would have to pay for map, so it would be an additional expense, and then I talked about the middle school. Is they're old enough to be home for a couple hours, but maybe they're not, their parents don't think they are, so we need to get an open gym or something,
Yeah,
as
there's
an option for that.
any way to have like them come over here and.
Ninth grade against.
I don't know, I'm trying to think of how to like keep them occupied for the time frame.
Yeah, and there are.
Well, they would be with the math.
Yeah, but like something that like they won't have to pay, like keeping them occupied.
We'd have to have it paid because we'd have to pay the staff to, who's gonna pay for that? Then you're really jump that number up. Like, we can't do that. So funding street, no, they
Right.
fund letters differently. There's training, I should say that, training.
And then also the opposite is true, so now we don't have Monday, Tuesday, and then Wednesday come in late, and then that, it's the same time every day in the morning, which may take the burden off oppositely, well, that's true.
It's a lot to think about. I mean, it's complicated.
Whenever you change something, it's going to put a different burden on somebody.
Right.
Then the bus thing is, I mean, yeah, it's great, we can do math, but then the bus doesn't run a second time, so then, you know,
Yeah, they have to
Yeah.
pick up.
I get it, so it's just.
We don't know what peers or voting for include.
Voting for, they're going with core.
But like as far as
I
like
don't know
all
what
their,
their schedule, I don't know what Pierce is doing.
I heard they were doing early hours, but
Did you, and Wells is doing letters
when
and,
you think of enrollment, you know, could push it one way or the other. Be nice to know what neighboring districts are.
sure, I think we should move on.
I agree. No, that's,
it's hard.
yeah,
It's hard.
yeah, no, it is, and, you know, we've all looked at it and internalized it, it's a big deal to get through all of the different options that, so. Is there any information you would like to know before, like, to be presented at the next meeting before we make the decision? Like, from the teachers union?
It'd be helpful for me just to figure out what plan B is. I know the teachers prefer option 4. I like option 4, but what's our kind of backup plan for those that get off track of option 4?
I don't think I can answer that, honestly, because they haven't given us any guidance on how that can work. I mean, I can say that they have to be told, even if it lead to discipline, I suppose, if somebody's not gonna do the work that's required.
When they get off track and not compliance.
I mean, that would have to,
Hires where they.
well, then we go to the discipline. If there's non-compliance, and that's a discipline issue. So then you go through that whole discipline process. That's a given. That's what anything. If somebody, leaves at the end of the year and we have to bring in a new teacher, we will have to deal with it at that time. I don't know that I can answer that right now, Angela, because I don't have enough information from what the legislation might require. Because here's the other thing, Sourcewell will get trained people. So it could very well be that a person gets, say somebody leaves at the end of the year, we hire a new third grade teacher, for example. Sourcewell is supposed to have supports for us. So they will at some point have trained letters people, is my understanding at all the co-ops or whatever, all the different Sourcewell organizations will have those to support districts. For those, I even think about somebody you hire from out of state that isn't required to have this, you know? So there's a lot of those what ifs that I think we're just gonna have to figure out.
Nice thing is we have 38, maybe 38 to 40 people on call. So we get to dictate our schedule. Whereas a school that's got 25, they have to partner with another district, and they have to coordinate their PD days, their live session days, all of it.
I feel like we'll figure out what this looks like for ours. I think we just get going, and then as things develop, we solve them as we go, because we can't always solve for the unknowns. But I do know Sourcewell will be a resource. That I know, they're hiring 10 new positions to support all of this legislation.
We should email them, so put another year in there.
Just don't hire from us.
So, one other question. When we decide whichever one this is, that's what it's gonna be for at least 2 years. Is that correct?
Well, and we'll do it for the year 1, and if somehow it works out that we don't need to for year 2, or we can do something different, I think we would be open to looking at something. I think we're gonna learn a lot this first year. About how this goes.
All right, building security update.
So I just wanted to, give an update on where we are, so. We've been talking about this for a while. Okay, so the elementary school's been rekeyed, fob access for the early childhood hallway doors has happened, high school rekeying, will be completed by the end of this month. The door access server is in place and we've done the training for how to access and change all the fobs and lock doors and such. So the cost came in of rekeying, actually, I think middle school, I think is complete, but that is the cost, came in lower than what we had thought it would be at 1763. The elementary was 2252, and then the cost of the server 73,000. Now, we had back a year ago had approved to use unreserved fund balance of the general fund. In reviewing our fund balance policy, however, I'm thinking we may want to do this a little differently. So if we go to our next slide. According to our policy, it says if resources from more than one fund balance classification could be spent, the school district will strive to spend resources from fund balance classifications in the following order, first to last: restricted, committed, assigned, and then finally unassigned. So if you go to the next slide, please. So the total expenses to date are 77,388 for the security upgrades. My recommendation is we rethink this and use our Safe Schools dollars, because right now the fund balance has 71,000 in it. The current Safe Schools revenue is 32,000. We have some expenses already planned today out of there, 22,800, but the available funding is 81,814, and I'm recommending that we use these dollars instead of the unassigned fund balance, and try to work on increasing that unassigned fund balance a little bit back to that 19 or 20%.
What classification is that, Safe Schools, is that assigned?
Restricted. It's restricted. Don't want to be used for certain purposes.
Sure.
We get about 34,000 a year on that, is that right? Yeah. 32. Not a lot of money. We keep asking for more money eventually.
You guys sitting there and not using it, it's pretty tough to get more, probably.
Yeah, some districts have actual, cross subsidies with this one because they have so many other expenses like SROs and multiple buildings, different municipalities that charge a lot of money. Some actually have a, cross subsidy. We don't, but I would recommend we use that down and not use our unassigned, fund balance, general fund.
What about facilities maintenance? That doesn't take care of that at all?
Long-term facilities maintenance would not qualify, these expenses would not qualify for LTIP.
Right, and we don't have much left of that for what we have budgeted every year. We don't have a large fund balance. So
What do we spend the other 22,000?
So we did vape detectors in our bathrooms, yeah. That took up a large portion, and I think there's one other thing. It's not vape detectors we spent, and what else, or one other thing I thought.
We had been quoting some of our social expense.
Yeah, but that was only gonna be, this was the first year they had done that. I had asked that to be done before and they didn't, so that would just, kept in the general fund. But that 16 of it, I think, is the vape detectors in the bathroom. I can't. There's something else that's not in there.
You don't foresee any other.
Well, we got lots of needs, remember we showed that whole thing, but I think for now, not that it would be, this was a big project. What we need to do is when we talked about the big needs, that long time ago, the first time we talked about this, like the cameras, all of that, that's a lot of money and that's in the future.
So we've talked safe school money before. And we talked about SROs, we've had them in here, we had a presentation from an SRO. It's something that I believe would be good for the community and with the school district and with the city to come together on something like that. And this is what that money could be used for. And now we want to spend it all. We've talked about this before. I've talked to the community members, it's been brought to me by the community members that they think would be good to have some kind of partnership with the city with that. And I said it last time we talked about this, if we spend all that money and the city says, or the community says, where do we get that money from? We have safe school money set aside just for that, and now it's all gone, we can't use it for that. So I feel that's what we're trying to do here, trying to put a roadblock in the way of an SRO. The city's on board with it. I've talked to people in the city. Community members are on board with it. People in the school were on board with it. They said when we had police officers in the school more, it was nicer, the kids liked it. So I feel that we're trying to put a roadblock up. I mean, we want to pull the community all the time and see what they think. I think an SRO would be a good thing to ask the community, hey, that's something you guys would like. Maybe not full-time, maybe part-time, maybe get one in the door. I mean, we've got a police chief that kind of pioneered that program over in Foley. He's willing to do it now, the city's willing to do it. And now we want to spend all the money. So. We talked about it before.
I would say either way, we end up spending money from here and from the general fund if we did both of those.
Right. But when you go to the community and say we have money to spend on this,
Do we get safe school money every year? 32,000 every year.
you know, we've already decided we're gonna spend it on this every year. We've got, what, this was a $200,000 project. Right? A total project. amount?
77 million.
No, the total project.
Well, the big, we'd love to have kind of thing, that very first, but you know that we can't do that now.
Right.
So. That's where I'm at with it. I'm here as a voice from the community, and I've had multiple community members ask me about it. And that's why I'm here. And I think if we spend all this money down like we tried to last time, and I said, why don't we use money from something else? And we still have some money in there. We agreed upon that, and now you're bringing it in front of us again and saying, let's not do that. So. So we call the community and see what they want to do. Their money, their kids, it's their school. I mean, if you want to ask them about a spring break, which is fine, ask them about an SRO. We're here working with the community.
I'm fine with doing that. But doing another survey, like, that's worked out. What do you guys?
Yeah, that's fine, and then just get a discussion on one of the, about, like, once we have it back, a discussion so we can see results and. Okay.
I'm more than fine with that. One of the things is, increasing our, or not decreasing our general fund, right? That's one of our priorities for the year, so this was one of the things as it's written policy, so. And that's what I want to talk about, because there's a lot of ways we can spend this money. You know, I've heard both on SRO too, you know, so. I don't disagree with that either. But
Sorry.
go ahead.
I was gonna say, one thing when we do bring up the discussion, I know, weren't there like a bunch of policy changes on SROs and what they can do and what they can't, maybe some of that is like a background information, if they have it before the discussion. So they're gonna have a background of.
So, yeah, that came in and then it kind of changed.
Well, it's going back, because
Yeah,
they talked about they
still-
can't do firm restraint on children. And so the cops, well, they said, well, we
Right, 'cause a lot
can't
of
do that,
that-
so then now they're rewriting, they're proposing bills right now.
Right, yeah, I knew it was still kind of like in the mix of what they were.
I mean, I'm not an SRO, I don't know a whole lot about it, but I think that is a very slim chance for Royalton schools to have to deal with stuff like that. I think an SRO is here as an instructor and teaching certain kids what to do. I mean, we heard those SROs talk on what they do. They're not here to restrain kids, right? I get it. That's what they're putting in some of this stuff. In Royalton, that would probably never happen. That's not what they're here to do, right? They're here to teach the kids, get them on a pathway where they should be. And then they're going to talk to those kids out in the community, not only out in the school, right? So they see them on both sides. And there's proof out there that it works. There is proof out there that it works. Talk to the kids in the school and then be able to go and talk to the parents and talk to kids outside of school. And then to get these kids on a path, so they're heading down the right direction, not the wrong direction. Because right now, we only get them in the school. We don't get them outside the school. And SRO gets them in the school And we see them outside of school, and we go talk to parents outside of school. We don't get that here.
So we have to figure out how we're gonna ask that question, because we're asking it either full-time or half-time. I want to be able to put, this is what this is, and this is how much it would cost, this is how much is covered, and for half-time, you know, because we still have those numbers from the.
Well, I will have to verify, because I don't know that they just gave other surrounding contracts with different municipalities and districts, we should have, we want to check that with them on
It'll
that.
take follow-up with the police chief, obviously.
Yep. So we want to bring that back to the April. Figure out, you know, so we can talk about in March, what we want to ask. And we'll go through those things and then do that in between there and April, and then April. we can Figure out.
So
what
bring
the
back
results
a possible survey in March.
Yeah.
Bring back a possible survey sheet.
Don't plan any work sessions between then and now or not?
are. I would say we would after March. Before the April one, if we can get that and talk through that and, you know, bring some more
Well,
folks
April
in.
would be the second week of April. We'd have to win.
It could, I'm just saying in between.
That survey, I'd like to see it. A lot like this spring break one was, where we break it down between. The staff and. That I'd like to know the difference between the staff and the. Community at large. If there is a difference, I mean, it was almost, whether it was the students, the staff, or it was almost identical, and I would like to know if there's a difference.
Yeah, remember who the taxpayers are. Obviously, you want the kids and you want the teachers input. But you want the taxpayers who want to really ultimately make the decision. So this is just. This is
Yeah.
discussion.
Yep. Any other things on this thing? All right. We will go to, FY 24 revised budget.
Hello again,
Well,
Chairman Hofstad, this is the board. Work camp, community members. This is a presentation, with regards to the general fund fiscal year 24 budget. A little bit of background, what constitutes a consideration for a budget revision, taken to components both revenue and expense. Revenue takes into consideration updates and refinement of the special education cross subsidy that was passed in the last round of legislation. The support aid, which includes immediate support aid and personnel support aid and unemployment reimbursement. As far as expenses, wages and benefits, taken into consideration contract settlements that were not yet settled when you all approved the budget back in June of 2023. And also unfamiliar with what at the time would become the results of the non-licensed between terms unemployment expense. Purchase services, so expense that we pay for outside vendors to provide support and services to our district. And then planned capital expense building projects that were funded by ESSER previously. This is a look at the general funds. General fund is Fund 1 specifically. Expenditures on the top portion of this grid, revenue on the bottom, left to right. Final fiscal years 22 and 23. As reference, the original budget that you all approved back in June of 23. Current revised budget that I am recommending based on time I've spent familiarizing myself with Royalton's finances, meeting and spending time with principals, supervisors, and directors that oversee budgets, working closely with Dr. Werkamp, and coming up with a budget revision consideration, which would end up being about less than $1,000 surplus with regards to this preliminary information. Just over 11,190 million in both revenue and expense. With that information, I then break it down into all of the different buckets, if you will, of funding. The top portion of this summary grid shows you all of the information with regard to our reserve, or otherwise called restricted funds, from staff development, operating capital, gifted and talented, safe schools, long-term facilities maintenance, and medical assistance. All of those funding sources are specifically restricted to only eligible expense based on statute. The middle portion is everything else that's left outside of that, which is called our unassigned fund balance. The board has a policy with regards to unassigned fund balance where we look to project and end the percentage of that fund balance based on total general fund expense. And any assigned monies that have been set aside over the course of the years to provide future funding for planning. In this case, roof repairs has some assigned set aside money, as does reading specialists in previous budget approvals. Based on this information, we know that we ended fiscal year final 23 with a 15.5% unassigned fund balance, projecting about a 16% unassigned fund balance for fiscal year 24. And that's just under $1.8 million, which would be a reduction in fund balance from the 1.8 million in fiscal year 23. So the current policy is 14 to 20% unassigned general fund balance. FY 24, we're projecting 16%, which is just under 1.8 million. The target of 18 to 20% ranges from just over 2 million to 2.24 million. We look to target that general unassigned fund balance to maintain operating expenses of at least 3 months in order to mitigate any considerations for limited cash flow, which can result in how the state meters are funding throughout the year. I continue to monitor expenses. Some of the considerations that I would recommend is to spend down our restricted fund balances. That would align with our current policy. In this last financial audit, it was brought to my attention that we're currently not following that policy. In doing so, by following the policy, we would increase our unassigned fund balance to over the 1.8 million, which would not be a reduction in comparison to last fiscal year. We would be able to get our assigned fund balance up to 17% if we considered our policy in order of resource use. Any questions?
I have a question. I don't know that it directly relates, but off the top of your head, and it can be a very rough estimate, but what sort of revenue streams that we take in? What percent comes from taxpayers? What percent comes from state? And then like what percent comes from federal?
Oh, that's a great question. I would have to reference our levy truth and taxation presentation in general, about 80% would come from state and federal,
Okay,
not including COVID money.
sure.
About 20% or so would come from levy, local taxpayers levy. If I were to say, then you have a small percentage that would come from other fee for service.
Sure.
programs.
And that's kind of been consistent throughout the years.
Non-federal, there's pretty low, non-ESSER.
Right.
Right. And that's consistently been, like, that's what we're projecting for future, like the
Yeah.
80-20.
I don't see that changing.
No,
Okay. Perfect.
That ESSER money was a.
No, that,
it might not even be, it
I'm
might
more
be.
talking the breakdown between the taxpayers contribute versus
Yeah.
what state and federal.
You have to remember state, federal, go back there. That's the one. You gotta come from the state, it's not our money, it's the state, come on. State, that's it's all our money.
Any other questions?
Questions for that?
So then back to the one.
Yeah, so I'll continue to refine it. And if there's any extenuating circumstances, certainly we'll update the board as they come up, but the timeline is to bring this back in March for your consideration to approve. At which time we'll also have some preliminary information on fiscal year 25.
Thank you. Donations by resolution. Right, does somebody want to introduce this? All right, Director Hackett, introduce the following resolution. Royalton American Legion has generously offered to donate $2,000 to the Royalton High School band to be used for transportation and extras. The Blackbaud Giving Fund has generously offered a grant of $3,000 made on behalf of the Medtronic Foundation Volunteer Grant Program and its donors. They have matched Clinton and Karen Coppus donations from November 2023. $2,000 will be presented to Royalton High School and $500 to the middle school for educational band programs and purchasing equipment, and $500 to the elementary school to benefit the musical education programs. And lastly, Cyber Grants, on behalf of Charities Aid Foundation of America, has generously donated $100 to matching Melissa Talbert's donation to support one or more of our programs. And be it resolved that the Royalton School Board to gratefully accept these gifts. So thank you to those three organizations. The motion for adoption of the resolution was seconded by member
Second.
Bowman. And a roll call vote, the vote in favor or against. What's that?
You just get trout.
Yep.
All right, Director Ballin. Aye. Director White.
Aye.
Director Roy. Aye. Director Hackett.
Aye.
Director Dawson.
Aye. All right. No against. No abstaining. Thank you. All right, next is talking about the school meals policy.
Well, we need to talk about that when we launch that. The policy. It does, it does say it can board collections, but we need to determine if we want to do that.
So that's what you're asking.
Yeah, so basically, I can just give you some quick data. We have about $7,000, $7,400 that is still owed to us that are families who are active, so children are still attending, and then there's about 4,200, almost 4,300 families who are no longer with us with unpaid lunch debt, and of that 4,200, there are 6 families that range from $160 to $1,100, so all the rest of them are just these small pockets of dollars, or at least less than 160. We do have $613 that's still inactive staff. Or I should say $589, that's still overall staff. So, in the active families, we have 9 families that range from only 200 to 1,300 and 6 that's 500 to 1,500. So not a lot of big numbers on the high end, lots of numbers on the small. So. Yeah, we need to.
So the question is, our policy says we can go to collection and do that. Do we want it? That's,
And then what's the threshold?
and what's the, yeah, and what's the threshold? Because did we find out how much it costs to,
No, we would have to do research and find a company and like what collecting agency deals with school lunch. Yeah,
Did we send numbers out like we talked about?
emails, letters.
Did anything, did we get anything back?
Very little. Inactive staff paid 20, a little bit. We active families, about 1,100. None of the inactive families paid.
and that's the hard question right now, because now lunches are free. And, you know, they're getting paid that way and they weren't before. You know, so that is a consideration as well. This should be the last time we have to
Right. especially-
deal with this, because going forward, how we can set the most thing now.
It's right about it.
So how do they look at that, on that fund? I mean, a fund is a separate fund, right?
Well, the general fund has to offset this because this is fund 2 and you can't have unpaid lunch debt, correct?
For the general fund,
Yeah.
Yeah, in Fund 2, the unpaid lunch debt is taken into consideration in the final year-end revenue for fund.
Yeah, but if there's unpaid, I thought the general fund had to cover that. That's how I've been taught in every district. We'll double check. Because that's my understanding. Scott, Mariah, so we'll double check.
Yeah, that would be,
But like you said, I think going forward, we should be okay. I mean, I think our process seems to be working, so. I don't know, really. I've been in the fashion business.
It could
I'm just
cost
gonna
more
send a letter.
to do
Yeah.
collections and
Yeah.
to get it on the credit review, than to just write it off. It's kid lunch, it's not. Right.
And we did call, were they robocalls or live calls?
We did email and sent a letter via mail. And now the active families, we have it set up where if there's less than $10 in the account. Once it hits $10, we give reminders that it should be.
those are,
Well, those were not emails going, we sent out your emails to go to, we just got that set up too.
Is it benefit to try more internal collection still, like with live calls, not a robocall? Somebody picks up the phone. Target those big.
Who would do- I don't know who would do that.
Is there
First
privacy
party, first party selections, you can have somebody do that, I just don't know if the staff person.
Target the. Just the big down.
oh, the other option is to write it off.
so can we find out if we can pay it off through Fund 2?
Yeah.
Or if that's come out of the general fund, so
I'm pretty sure it's general.
that'd be good to know, right?
So now, someone else's.
Yes, some of those, yes.
Some of them. So it sounds like it should be about $90,000 with having the interest on it, huh?
So what do you guys think? I guess, do we have an opinion one way or the other?
I'm not in favor of collection.
I would probably favor just writing it off and moving forward.
That's where I was. headed to.
I mean, it'd be nice to get them, it'd be nice if, but if most of them are inactive, I don't know that they're gonna.
We do have a few active staff but we're handling that internally. That's getting fixed.
The government say wages, can't you?
We have to have a judgment. Because we can't, just take it out. But,
Yeah, I'd like to see a phone call effort, it's too easy to ignore email. It's just quick delete or keep it on check. You have $100,000, you pick up the phone and you settle it for half, I mean, I don't know. Depends on volume up.
yeah, I just don't know this time.
Yeah.
I don't think you want your superintendent.
But that,
I probably don't want superintendent, I'm both have to
kind of go over very well.
Well, really, these would be your business manager, correct?
Or finance. I don't know. Maybe without the resources, but I don't know what the list is, if you say 500 and higher, are there 500 people or are there?
Right, no, not
20 people?
Yeah, I just said, 6 families.
Yeah, so makes it.
Yeah, they're small numbers. In the higher range of that.
Yeah. Just an idea.
Well, I like that idea, at least for the, how many are, we're looking at 500 above?
Yeah, there's like 10 phone calls to make, so, I don't know.
Yeah, it looks like the 19, 18 or 19 calls. Let me guess. And then we'll bring this back next month, but with that data and, with the one, two versus one data. Anything else on? Conflict of interest policy, I pretty much talked about that one already. Just added, kept it at 0, and added statement views, so statement views put on there too. For each one of those sections, so, it does not include a coach or anything like that, it's literally just, the clock, all the different things up there. So. That's ticket sales, supervision, doing an official lot. And we'll see.
Workers, you want to be on a job to help out, is that what you're saying?
What's that?
You're saying a board person, but you want to be on a job.
And get paid for
In.
Because
Yeah.
when you, as we're doing this, you're not anywhere in the chain of command below superintendent, principals, teach, any of that stuff, so. It wouldn't be a conflict to, do one of these things and be on the board. Whereas if you're a substitute teacher, you want something done, whatever, there could be something there, but, so this is what we came up with for opportunity, I guess. So is, for any discussion, is there anything? Are you guys good with this? To keep going forward that way? All right. Well, we still have one more look at that one before that'll come back. We brought fund balances into the first reading and then student discipline into the second reading. So student dress and appearance have just minor, super minor changes. So we want to bring that to a second and final. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I move the 504 for adoption.
All right. Second. Well,
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, any discussion on that one? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? All right, motion carries. All right, and the approval of the third policy reading, so 417, chemical use and abuse, we want to bring the third and final. Really, it added cannabis into that whole thing, so that was the big change, the big addition with all the new laws surrounding that, so.
Motion approved.
Second. Director Bowman. All right, any other discussion on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Motion carries. All right, and then, request to rescind, so as we were looking through these, there was, three policies, so employee recognition, information technology policy, and the food service program policy. So employee recognition was a policy that didn't really make sense. And it was trying to make things happen that forcing employees to help pitch in on a retirement gift type thing and how we had to do it and when we had to do it. So MSBA does not have any policy like that, and they pretty much, everybody does their own kind of thing for that. So we didn't really want to keep that in policy because we're not following it anyway. The second one, information technology, we revised that policy with other policies that we have to have from MSBA, so that one was outdated and didn't make sense. And then the same thing with first food service program, so that one's already covered, as well as in the school's meals policy 534 that was updated.
And it goes against state legislation.
Yes, and it definitely goes against state legislation for that. So any issues with taking those out? All right, negative one.
I'll move it.
All right, Director Hackett,
Second.
second Director Bowman. All right, any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. All right, upcoming meeting schedule. We have Wednesday, February 28th. Pretty much everything.
Yeah.
And then Thursday, March 14th is one of our anomalies for the next school board meeting. And that'll be back in
ACC.
okay. Any issues with those days? Anybody? All right. Anything else before we adjourn? All right, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Director Bowman. Second. Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, everyone.